The warning had been delivered politely. It was transmitted through proper diplomatic channels, encoded in standard galactic protocol, translated into the Nigma Empire's tonal language with painstaking care. It carried no threats, no ultimatums, no emotional charge. It simply stated that the human frontier system designated Helios Verge was under protection, that civilian traffic moved through it, that any incursion, military or otherwise, would be interpreted as hostile. The Nigma Empire laughed. They were ancient when humanity was still fighting over continents. Their fleets had broken suns and reshaped nebulae to spell imperial creeds across light years. Their warriors were bred for obedience and honed in wars against species that no longer had names. To them, humans were loud newcomers, short-lived, emotion-driven, dangerous only to themselves. The warning was archived as a curiosity. 3 cycles later, the Nigma invasion fleet entered Helios Verge. It began as all Nigma wars did, clean, overwhelming, and merciless. Their ships emerged in perfect formation, obsidian hulls etched with bioluminescent command sigils, gravity anchors locking down the system before any distress signal could escape. Human outposts were disabled with surgical precision. Orbital platforms were neutralized, not destroyed, as if the Empire wished to preserve them for later study. On the surface of Helios Prime, civilians looked up and saw the sky fracture into impossible geometries. Human commanders assessed the situation in silence. The Nigma expected frantic resistance, desperate counterattacks, chaotic retreats. They had studied humanity's history enough to anticipate panic wrapped in bravado. What they received instead was quiet. Human fleets did not rush to engage. They did not scramble every available ship. Traffic control calmly rerouted civilian vessels. Emergency shelters sealed. Data cores were encrypted and physically disconnected. Then the humans did something the Nigma had not anticipated. They stopped transmitting. Across the system, human communications went dark, not jammed, not destroyed, simply absent. To Nigma strategists, this read as collapse, a species withdrawing into itself, paralyzed by fear. Confident, the Empire advanced. Their ground forces descended in towering landers, soldiers marching in precise phalanxes, weapons humming with restrained annihilation. They encountered no resistance. At first, cities stood intact, power grids functional, streets eerily empty. Too empty. The first Nigma unit to enter the capital district reported no hostiles. The second reported strange structures, bunkers embedded into architecture, walls thicker than scans predicted, doors sealed with alloys unknown to imperial databases. The third unit never reported at all. It was not an ambush. It was a disappearance. Sensors showed the unit advancing, then nothing. No explosions, no energy spikes, no life signs, just a sudden absence where 40 elite soldiers had been. The Nigma commanders adjusted tactics. Recon drones deployed in swarms. They mapped the city down to molecular resolution. And that was when the ground began to move. Not tremors, not seismic activity. The city itself reconfigured, streets shifted. Buildings rotated, sank, or rose, revealing layers beneath layers, centuries of hidden infrastructure built quietly, patiently beneath the skin of a peaceful world. Helios Prime had never been a civilian colony. It had been a fortress pretending not to be one. The first human counterstrike did not come from orbit. It came from beneath. Entire Nigma battalions were swallowed as gravity wells inverted without warning. Kinetic barriers snapped shut like jaws. Precision strikes erased command nodes faster than Nigma neural networks could adapt. Human weapons did not glow or roar theatrically. They struck with brutal efficiency, designed to end fights before the enemy realized they were fights at all. Above, the Nigma fleet finally reacted. Capital ships repositioned, weapons charging, intent on burning the planet into submission. Their opening salvo lit the void with energy enough to crack continents. Human orbital defenses rose to meet it. They had been hidden in plain sight. Asteroids hollowed out and armored, debris fields wired into weapon platforms, civilian stations whose outer shells peeled away to reveal spinal cannons older than the Empire itself. The first exchange shattered 3 Nigma cruisers. Not damaged, shattered. Fragments spun through space as their internal gravity fields collapsed catastrophically. Nigma admirals stared at their displays, recalculating threat assessments that no longer made sense. Human ships began to arrive. Not in formation, not with ceremonial precision. They came fast. Human warships tore into the system from every vector, engines flaring. Violently, hulls layered with mismatched armor plates and fresh repair scars. Some bore markings of exploration fleets. Others carried the symbols of long-retired battle groups. This was not a standing navy. It was everything humanity had that could still fly. The battle erupted into chaos. Nigma ships moved with elegance, their maneuvers refined over millennia of doctrine. Human ships moved like predators unleashed, exploiting gaps, sacrificing positioning for momentum, trading armor for decisive strikes. Where Nigma commanders sought control, human captains sought outcomes. One human frigate rammed directly through a Nigma destroyer's shield envelope, detonating its own reactor to cripple the larger vessel and clear a path for others. Another allowed itself to be boarded, only to vent entire sections of the ship into space, taking hundreds of Nigma soldiers with it. To the Empire, this behavior was madness. To humanity, it was doctrine. As losses mounted, the Nigma deployed their ultimate sanction. An imperial annihilator entered the system, a weapon ship designed to end wars in a single firing. Its core weapon began charging, drawing energy directly from subspace, destabilizing reality around it. Human command detected the buildup instantly and made a decision. They did not try to stop the weapon. They targeted the Empire's certainty. Human cyberwarfare units launched attacks not against Nigma systems, but against their assumptions. Command protocols were fed contradictory data. Hierarchies were flooded with false confirmations. Orders propagated perfectly and incorrectly. The Annihilator fired. Its beam lanced outward, brilliant and unstoppable, and missed. It carved through empty space where Helios Prime had been moments before. The planet was gone. Not destroyed. Moved. Human engineers had done the impossible, executing a controlled micro-jump of an entire planetary mass into a pre-prepared pocket of folded space. The maneuver tore half the defending fleet apart, destabilized gravity across the system, and left the Nigma staring at a void where their victory should have been. Panic rippled through Imperial ranks for the first time in recorded history. Human fleets surged. With their superweapon expended and command structure compromised, the Nigma began to fall back. Human ships pursued relentlessly, not out of vengeance but resolve. They disabled engines, captured vessels, and broadcast one final message across all frequencies. Clear, calm, unmistakable. This is why we warned you. The Nigma Empire retreated from Helios Verge in disarray, their losses staggering, their certainty shattered. Across the galaxy, observers reevaluated every assumption they had ever made about humanity. They were not reckless. They were prepared. They did not seek war, but they finished it. In the quiet aftermath, Helios Prime was returned to normal space. Its cities reopened. Its people stepped back into sunlight as if nothing extraordinary had happened. But the galaxy remembered. From that day forward, whenever human diplomats issued a warning, no one laughed. Because the Nigma Empire had learned the truth too late. When humans tell you not to cross a line, it's not a threat. It's mercy. And some lessons are paid for in stars.